Well, aloha and good morning. It is Wednesday, November 4th. I'm Ryan Kalesuji, joined by Yunji Denise, and this is Spotlight Hawaii. And Yunji, what a long night it has been. I mean, if the bags look a little heavier under my eyes this morning, it's because I got very little sleep. I know a lot of people didn't as well, watching both the local and national election results as we continue actually to be going through this election. But it certainly was a historic night.
It was historic on all fronts. You know, to see Hawaii go from some of the lowest voter participation just a few election cycles ago to now having nearly 70% of registered voters actually cast ballots last night was pretty incredible. Of course, that led to a lot of long lines, and we didn't get that first printout that we were expecting at 7 o'clock as we usually do. It took quite a bit longer. So we're going to be talking to Gordon Pang from the paper about a lot of the races here in Honolulu, along with what led to those long lines. But first, we want to talk to a candidate who decisively won his race, and that is the new mayor of Hawaii County. That is Mitch Roth, and he is joining us now this morning. He will be taking the helm in December, just a month away. Hard to believe already. You've got a lot of work between now and then. So first of all, let's just talk the basics. How was last night for you?
Oh, good morning, aloha. Yeah, last night was kind of long. But it was great. We feel really good about the results last night. They came in a lot later than we thought they would be coming in.
You know, all throughout the campaign, we talked about the relationship that you had with your opponent, Ikaika Marzo. You know, not what we normally see in politics. You two were very cordial, very friendly. Talk about sort of that interaction overall, the campaigning experience, and if you've had an opportunity to talk to your opponent, Ikaika Marzo, since finding out the results last night.
Well, you know, interestingly, Ikaika were texting back and forth, and you know, just conversations. And I think my hat's off to him because it takes two, and both our campaigns did a great job of showing aloha and treating each other with dignity and respect, and you know, trying to get out there, even with a lot of our supporters, and asking them to treat, you know, people with dignity and respect. You know, when you look at what's happening nationally, even in Honolulu, there was mud being flung. I think the model that we set, the standard we set on the Big Island, is that we can agree to disagree, but still be friends and still talk and still be cordial and social and show the aloha spirit. And you know, moving forward, that's so important because everybody on the island, that's a big statement, everybody. I think everybody wants the best for the Big Island, which means that we're all in kind of the same canoe, and we're all going to be paddling. And if we're all paddling in the same direction, we're going to be getting the best a lot quicker. So you know, it helps when you run races that are clean like this. If you're really running for the right reasons are to make a better tomorrow for everybody here, to make sure that our keiki have the ability to raise their keiki on this island, versus, you know, moving to the mainland and seeking jobs there. So my hat's off to Ikaika for, you know, running a very clean race. And like I said, we did things I don't think anybody's ever done before in a mayor's race, which were things like having dinner together after the forums and just, you know, sitting down, and we did a YouTube live, not talking about politics, but just about, you know, our philosophies of life and, you know, some of the similarities we have. One of the things I learned during that is both his father and my father both passed away around 18, 19 years old. And, you know, looking for commonalities versus things that separate us.
One of the things
was really good.
One of the things that the Big Island, of course, is facing right now is relatively high numbers of coronavirus, especially in nursing home facilities, you know, for the elderly. What are some things that you think that the county needs to be doing right away to address that? What do you, when you look at what's happening, do you anticipate more lockdowns? What kind of interventions are you expecting from the county?
You know, with the coronavirus, things have been changing very rapidly. You know, and next month I expect things to be a lot different than they are right now. I'm understanding, some people have told me that, you know, the secondary tests may be going away within the next couple of weeks. So it's hard to say what we're going to do next month based on, you know, today's news. today's news is a lot different than where we were in March. When we're starting to learn a lot more things. We're starting to see possibilities of vaccines, possibilities of treatments. I'm not a doctor. I have spent a night at a Holiday Inn. Just kidding. But one of the things that I'm seeing is countries like Israel are recommending that their people start taking vitamin D, because people who have vitamin D deficiencies are much more likely to die, much more likely to have serious complications. People assume because we live in Hawaii that we're getting plenty of vitamin D, but we're seeing that we have vitamin D deficiencies. We know that things like air purifiers make big differences, and being outdoors and exercising make a lot of differences. And so, our parks have been closed, and maybe we need to start making sure people are exercising and do the things that will be preventative versus being afraid of this virus and closing ourselves off from the world.
Aside from the COVID-19 pandemic, which of course is going to be a priority for you and the administration, what are maybe the top 3 things that you're looking to do immediately? What are some of the things that were sort of priorities that you spoke about during the campaign, and things that you will be focusing on moving into this new role leading Hawaii Island?
Of course, getting the cabinet is the first task, and we're working on that task right now, interviewing people. But, moving forward, we want to change the philosophy of government to a government that helps people thrive and succeed versus being always in control. When we're always controlling things, we stifle creativity and we stifle progress. By helping people thrive and succeed, we make a big difference. That's a culture change. And so that's one of the first things that we're looking at is changing that culture. We'll probably start with our permitting process. Hawaii has a reputation of being very anti-business. We need to change that opinion that people have of us. We need to open our doors to business, but we don't want to become Honolulu. We don't want to become Maui. We got to be culturally sensitive about how we grow. But when businesses are in operation, people are working, people are putting foods on their table and feeding their family. And that's really important right now with our society. The other thing we want to do is we're looking at doing a sustainability summit within the first 100 days. And so I have a team of people that have been working on this for the last couple of months. It will probably be a webinar, and we're going to start working on sustainability in all forms. For me, just explaining sustainability, I have 3 children. They're all living on the mainland. And so sustainability means the ability for our kids to raise their kids here, families to actually have those abilities. Part of that means having quality jobs, affordable housing, but it also means having an environment that is pristine, that allows people to go to the beach without having to worry about being poisoned in our oceans. We have some really big infrastructure issues that we need to start looking at. Wastewater is one. Then renewable energies, things that we need to talk about during the sustainability summit. And then also in that same area, we're looking at our solid waste, our landfills, being closed down. So in Hawaii County, we're hauling rubbish from one side of the island to the other, which is not very environmentally sound. It's expensive, and we have some issues there. So a lot of things we're going to be looking at right off the bat.
Let's talk about that cabinet that you're building. How many positions do you need to hire between now and then? And if people are interested in joining your team, what kind of folks are you looking for right now?
So, one of the things that happens in county government is that there's charters and there's, ordinances. And under the charters, a lot of the positions have certain experiential and educational backgrounds. For example, for the public works, you need to have someone who has a engineering license. It's a general engineering license. So you can't just put anybody into those positions. A lot of the positions require different levels of college education, possibly even post-college education. So one, we have to find people that meet those criteria. 2, we have to find people that are going to be willing to take on this philosophy of helping people thrive and succeed, and not being so much control, but trying to figure out how we can. You know, I tell people as attorneys, there's two kinds of attorneys. There's attorneys that will tell you why you can't do things, and those attorneys will figure out how you get things done. That's the kind of people I'm looking at. We need to figure out how to get things done, because right now we're starting behind the 8 ball with the economy and things that are happening. But with a little bit of work, we can make really positive changes really quickly.
You know, of course, one of the biggest issues that you're going to have to obviously confront at some point in time will be the 30-meter telescope. We know that the project currently right now is stalled because of COVID-19 and other regulations and battles that are currently happening through the legal process. But as mayor, you know, this has been an issue that has divided this community. How do you see yourself helping to bring both sides together, and how do you sort of how are you going to tackle this project that has been so polarizing for the community?
So let me say this: I do support 30-meter telescope. I support astronomy, but all of that happens on Mauna Kea, which is state jurisdiction. So it really is the governor that is in charge of the state agencies that are in charge of that the mountain. The mayor really has no oversight of any of the agencies up there. So whether TMT gets built or not is going to be up to the governor and to TMT. Now, going back to though TMT and why it's important for us and why astronomy is important to us. You know, I think there was a real telling moment during one of our forums when my opponent was asked, "What are you going to do without astronomy?" Astronomy represents, in its current stage, $90 million of, you know, what's going into our economy this day, to the Big Island economy. If you take that $90 million away, how are you going to move forward? And there was really no good answer for that. You know, if we are going to create an environment where our keiki can go to school, come back and raise their keiki, we are going to need to have quality jobs and affordable housing. Quality jobs in the future are going to come through things like STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And while astronomy is only one part of that, astronomy gives us the best opportunity for our students to get experience. And I'll give you an example. We have a group on the Big Island called Next Tech that I helped start. It's a group of students in STEM education who are interested in STEM careers. And we have a whole bunch of people on our island who are mentors. One of those mentors is a guy named Doug Simons of the Canada, France, Hawaii telescope. He runs that telescope. He is one of our mentors, and we have several Doug Simons up there. But think about this. If you have someone like Doug Simons mentoring you in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, astronomy, it's like having a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan who is mentoring you in basketball. You know, there's very few places in the world that you have a collection of the best of the best. But that's what we have on our mountain with astronomy. We have the best of the best representing, you know, a mountain with the best of the best. And if you think about the Hawaiian culture, a lot of people are upset about the stewardship of the land. And yeah, there's issues that we need to openly and honestly address. But if you want to create opportunities for our kids, that mountain represents the best opportunity for that to happen. And, you know, being a father of 3 kids, one of my children, my son, actually benefited from having that kind of relationship while he was in high school. And, you know, his relationship with the STEM and science and you know, astronomy landed him a job at NASA on the Mars rover program. That's kind of the things that we have. And it's, you know, Ryan, I'm going to give a lot of credit to your dad, because it was some of his foresight that made some of the things happen that the students in our schools really benefited from in astronomy. So.
We want to get to Gordon in just a second, but before you go, we did note at the top that your victory was decisive yesterday, but of course there were thousands of people who did vote for your opponent. And the morning after an election, there are always some sore feelings on the side that was not victorious. What do you say to Ikaika Marzo's supporters this morning? How do you unite the island around your agenda going forward?
I think one of the things that people who supported Ikaika really saw was real change in government, and they wanted real change. And, having been in government for the last 27 years, people didn't think that someone in government could bring real change. And I really do intend on bringing real change. Other things that Ikaika represents to a lot of people is the aloha spirit and taking care of people and make sure that, our community is being communicated with. And those are things that I also believe real strongly in. And, I want to thank his supporters. They ran a really great race. Thank Ikaika for doing the same, like I said earlier, with a lot of aloha, a lot of dignity and respect. And moving forward, I think they all agree that we need a better island moving forward to make sure that we're thriving and people are working and all the right things are happening. And I look forward to working with those people as well.
Okay, well, Mitch Roth, Hawaii County Mayor-Elect, congratulations again, and thank you for taking time to join us. We'll certainly stay tuned to the developments on Hawaii Island, and you're taking office in about a month now, so it's going to be a busy time, but we certainly appreciate you taking time to join us here this morning.
All right, thank you. Have a great day on purpose. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.
All right, well, now let's move on to let's talk about the results overall. We want to bring in Gordon Pang from the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. He is Pang in the Hale on Twitter, and he's a great feed to follow because you get all the developments play by play. And last night, Gordon, the big story being all those people in line when we weren't supposed to have this because all these ballots came to our house. Let's talk about that.
Right, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty amazing, but on the other hand, I know the elections people were happy, and I think anybody who likes democracy has to be happy as well. A lot of new people apparently have decided to take part in the democratic process.
Have we heard anything from the elections office about the people that were standing in the line? Were they people that just, because we know that the reason why many of them had to go, of course, in person is because maybe they were not registered to vote. And that's what took such a long time, is because many of them had to just go through that process. It wasn't like they just gave them their name and they got their ballot. They had to actually sign up. Do we have any sort of idea of how many people were new registrants and how many people just wanted to vote in person?
That's right. Well, I spoke to an Office of Elections spokesperson this morning. They are going to address the media later today on these questions. I know that anecdotally, we were getting a lot of reports that there were a lot of new folks who were doing same-day registration. I think social media and the media did too well a job almost in reminding people that, hey, same-day registration is a thing now, and you can just go show up and register so long as you have your proper ID. And of course, that added a lot of time, but I think most people were satisfied by that part of it.
Well, let's talk about some of the changes that we're going to see. Obviously, we're going to have a new mayor. Let's talk a little bit about that race and how things shook out. We had two political newcomers come to the race, of course, very well established in our community as business people, as entrepreneurs, as community leaders, but neither had held office, Keith Amamiya and Rick Blangiardi. Of course, Mr. Blangiardi is now our mayor-elect. What are your thoughts on that race?
Well, I think for once the polls tracked fairly closely with the actual results. So I don't think too many people were surprised by the results. I think a major theme to take away from this election in Honolulu is that the two finalists, once again, were newcomers, first-time candidates. And I think that really said something. And speaking to some of the folks that we polled after our October poll. Speaking to some of them, yeah, they made it a point to say, yeah, hey, I wanted these two guys in. I was deciding between these two guys because I wanted some fresh blood at City Hall. And sure enough, those were the two guys we got. Then it became an issue of which of these two guys you preferred. And looks like more people thought Rick was more qualified. Clearly, he has more business experience in terms of, just by virtue of how many years he's been around working. So as an executive, so I think that factored into it a lot.
Aside from that, of course, we had the prosecutor's race. No big surprise, Steve Alm was victorious in his election and was projected to win. But also Megan Kao, certainly made up for some of the votes. She got a large percentage of votes, more than what she had in the primary, of course. But any surprises there or anything to note in that race?
Well, I think from the beginning, Steve Alm had to be considered the favorite. I mean, he is a high-profile name for several decades now. First as U.S. attorney, which is basically the federal version of a prosecuting attorney. So really, he's had the job in some manner of speaking. So yeah, going in, he was a favorite. Megan Kao did present sort of a hardliner attitude, and I think that impressed a lot of people. She made clear that she was not going to yield to very much and be a hardliner as a prosecutor. So yeah, I think folks who wanted that went for Megan Kao.
You've covered City Hall for some time. We're going to have a new mayor, and we're going to have a very different looking council. Yes. Five new council members, kind of a mix when it comes to political experience there. We have Esther Kia Aina taking Ikaika Anderson's seat, Radian Cordero taking Joey Manahan's seat, and then Augie T emerging victorious last night, taking Ron Menor's seat. And then in the primary, we had Andrea Tupola and Calvin Say win their races outright. Can you talk a little bit about what you're expecting from the mix of personalities, of political experience, and of policy from our new council, especially as compared to the one that we currently have?
Well, I think first of all, it needs to be noted that this is the first time ever that there are now 5 women city council members, 5 out of 9. So they now make up a majority for the first time ever. So I think that's gonna be an important thing moving forward. That's just unprecedented. I think we had a hard time trying to figure out even whether there've been 4 women on the council before. So definitely things are progressing. As for what happens to this council now, it's anybody's guess. I know that several of the incumbent council members have been jockeying to be the new council chair. So we'll see how that all shapes up. Rumors are that Tommy Waters has been trying to form a coalition, and so too apparently has Heidi Tsuneyoshi. But we'll see if either of those two folks will be able to form a majority and be chair, or if it's going to end up having to be a third person. But it's going to be exciting to watch, especially with that happening at City Hall, as well as a new mayor on the 3rd floor.
Of course, a lot of attention, given to the presidential race. Of course, Joe Biden taking the state of Hawaii, but also, 130,000 votes going to Donald Trump here in Hawaii, with Republicans going that way. However, when you look down the ballot, the Republicans, again, continuing to really have a hard time making their presence felt here in the islands. Not a lot of big upsets, of course, when you look at the state house and the state senate. There were a lot of eyes obviously being paid attention to Mililani, where there were some Democrats that were pushing against the incumbents in Valley Okimoto and Lauren Chief Matsumoto, both Republicans able to hang on to their seats. But for the majority, Republican Party still having a difficult time down the ballot, making their presence felt. What are your observations on just the overall GOP and the representation in the state and some of those other races that may have been impacted but clearly weren't successful in this go around?
Well, I think at the end of the day, just looking at the legislature in totality, I think the House Democrats picked up one seat in Cynthia Phelan's, but no other ones in either house changed hands. You know, on the one hand, yeah, the Republicans continue to struggle. You know, Sam Sloan wasn't able to overtake Stanley Chang in their rematch. But you know, on the other hand, Kurt Favela was able to stave off a sitting House member to get reelected to his Senate seat. So they at least were able to maintain most of what they had. But yes, it continues to be a struggle for the Republicans locally. I think a lot of Donald Trump's appeal, you know, and why he does better than maybe the other Republicans is, I don't know. I'm just going to take a wild guess and say a lot of it just might be, you know, his character rather than just his philosophical bent.
You know, so much of what happens in City Hall, of course, comes down to the managing director and the people who surround the mayor. We just heard Mitch Roth talking about how he's building up the people who will be supporting him. I guess we'll now be looking to Rick Blangiardi, and we have invited him on this program. We hope to talk to him in the coming weeks. But what's your read on the kind of people who are going to be surrounding him? We saw, you know, people like Colleen Hanabusa and other established politicians supporting him. But of course, we did note at the top that he is a political newcomer. So what are you expecting from that?
Well, first of all, I was able to speak with Rick this morning, the mayor-elect, and we did have a discussion about his cabinet. He has formed a committee to help him search, as has Mr. Roth, so that's already underway. I am 99% certain he already has a managing director, but he just isn't ready to name him yet. As for the other cabinet positions, I found it kind of surprising that Mayor Caldwell showed up at both headquarters last night. But as for his visit with Rick Blangiardi, I know that according to Rick, the mayor promised to give him a folder listing all his cabinet members and I guess what their qualities are and you know, whether he wants to make a decision about who stays and who goes. And I spoke to Mr. Blangiardi about that this morning, and he made it clear that his slate is open. He is not necessarily intending to you know, clean everybody who's in office now, any of the agency and department heads. So he's gonna seriously consider both the folks who are there as well as people from the outside. He made clear that he wants to bring together as good a team as he can, and that might include holdovers from the Caldwell administration and obviously, you know, folks who are not.
You know, before we let you go here, there are obviously a lot of talk this morning about those long waits and about the results. You know, we saw the neighbor islands having to wait for the polls to close here on the island of Oahu. But there is actually something in place that states why, you know, the results can't be shared. If you can share a little bit more about why that process, of course, has to be held up because people are still in line.
That's right. Thank you for bringing that up. I was spending half the morning finding the statute, but it's Act 136 from 2019. Thank you, Doris Lamb and Jared Curio for helping me track that down. But yeah, there is a law in place that says you shall not release any results until the last person has voted. So I'm going to put the link to the act and to the bill on my Facebook page as well as my Twitter feed, and people can see it for themselves. But yeah, there's a law, and if they want to change it, I guess they need to talk to the legislature about it.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Gordon Pang, for staying up late last night. I'm sure getting up this early this morning to talk to the winners, and we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for your analysis and all the work you do.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Gordon.
Wow, so we've got a lot of change coming, and one of the big questions for Mr. Blangiardi will be the tiered system, and is that something that he's going to keep? Will that hold over along with some of the department heads that that Gordon was telling us about, or is he going to come out with his own system for how to handle the spread of the coronavirus? So a lot of changes on the way, and the jockeying at the city council, who's going to lead that group. And interesting to note that we do have now coming up in January 5 women who will be on the council. That's a first.
Yeah, just a complete change in the overall makeup of leadership at Honolulu Hale. And it's going to be interesting to see how the different dynamics are sort of going to change the way in which decisions are made. We, of course, know rail continues to be an issue, and how the city responds to COVID-19 will also be something that the council will have to look at. There's going to have to be some hard decisions that have to be made by the leadership there, not only by Rick Blangiardi, but also by the council. And going back to the tiered system, we had Rick Blangiardi on here earlier in our broadcast, and we asked him specifically about the tiered system. And one of his comments was, he said, I've learned never to question Kirk Caldwell. He's not going to be one to question what and why the mayor is making his decisions. And he also said that he's, confident that he was informed with the doctors, and if he is elected, which we now know that he will be, he'll take a look at that. But at this point, that is going to sort of be the baseline for which he makes those decisions. So we could not see any sort of edits to this tier system, which Mayor Caldwell says he was hesitant to change at all once he revealed it. And so far, he's been true to his word.
Yeah, so we'll be watching all of that. We're going to switch gears from politics back to coronavirus response and opportunities, economic opportunities on Friday. We've got two guests who will be joining us on Friday, Ryan.
That's right. We're going to be talking with Donnie Dawson from the Hawaii Film Office, of course, and she will talk a little bit about the industry. Of course, we know that there are a number of productions that like to come to Hawaii to film, how COVID-19 has sort of changed that. One of the productions, of course, is Magnum PI. Some of the changes that they've had to make and how they're responding, because this is a very important industry to the state. And we want to get an update on how the state is being able to work around the film office.
Right. And then we're also going to be talking to Omar Sultan from Sultan Ventures. They have been tasked with helping to create a program or release funding through the CARES Act to help people who are in the tourism industry and other industries that may be affected and may have been laid off, how to help them transition. So there are opportunities and there is money out there. So we're going to be talking to him about that and letting you know how you can apply to get some job training and perhaps link up with another company. Or if you're a company and wants to hire people through this program, we'll talk about that as well. So Friday's going to be very interesting when it comes to the economy. And then next week, we have a very special guest, and that's Angela Keene. She's going to be joining us, and we know a lot of people have been watching the work that her group has been doing, Kapu Aloha, talking about, catching these quarantine and other coronavirus violators, if you will.
That's right. We know that that's going to get a lot of responses. A lot of people always bring that comment up during our conversations with our elected officials. So we're looking forward to that conversation. And again, we thank you all for joining and tuning in, and for your comments, and of course, for our two guests that joined us here today. We invite you to join us right here again on Friday at 10:30, and continue to stay connected to the Honolulu Star-Advertiser as we continue through what they're calling election week, as we continue to see what results change here as we still await this presidential election, as well as all the other contested issues throughout, contested contests throughout the nation in this 2020 election, which will, again, be one that we definitely will be talking about for years to come. Until then, we'll see you right back here on Friday. Aloha.
Aloha.